Good evening, everyone. Hello, I'm Mark Oliver, the organiser of dev.talk and your host for tonight. So let's get started. I'd like to introduce Vicky Hawley, a front-end developer. She's an AI artisan, developer, designer and artist. And today they're here to tell us about AI in the zone of proximal development. Let's all welcome Vicky to the stage.
So hi, my name's Vicky and it's really lovely to be here. My background is I was a teacher. I taught English as a foreign language to foreign students, and then I taught mathematics at secondary. So my route into software was kind of roundabout, and so kind of with the kind of influx of AI and the kind of tsunami of AI written stuff, I felt like I could draw on some of my teaching background and just bring a little bit of like maybe a solution, because that's kind of like why we're software developers, because we like solutions. So there's something called scaffolding in teaching, and you know what it is. In the front of a building, you have scaffolding around it when you're working on it, and then it goes away. And that's the basic premise of this talk, is that AI should be a scaffold and not something we depend on permanently. And if we're going to move and progress, then the AI that's helping us do that has to move as well. And it can't be the same thing. We can't rely on it to do the same jobs for us. So yeah. Just this afternoon, I was on LinkedIn and I saw two people post something that is kind of like speaking into this situation. One of them was a CTO who is quite prominent, and he said, "Today we let a developer go. They let AI replace their judgment entirely, shipping unreviewed, full AI-generated code straight into our code base. If they can't explain it, then don't ship it." So we have a gap here where the CTO doesn't know what to do with a developer who is shipping code.
Sorry.
Yes, okay. So the CTO doesn't know what to do in that situation. Obviously, something's been shipped and it hasn't been reviewed. So there's a problem there. And someone is relying completely dependent on AI to do the work for them. And then someone else here is saying, "I hate seeing senior developers belittling junior developers. It's becoming more common with AI. Your job is still to mentor them. They're an investment, not a cheap resource. Anytime I see a senior mock a junior, I assume senior is the incompetent one." And so here what we have is a gap between the senior and the junior, and there's a confrontation maybe, but there's a gap where the junior wants to learn, the senior's seeing that they're not learning, and how do they get there? There's no progression. So we don't want the junior to rely on the AI because there's no learning, and I'll go into that now. So yeah, I'm a front-end developer, that's where my expertise is. And I'm a member of the Alan Turing Institute, which I highly recommend. I'm really sorry about that photo as well, because it's such a close-up. Yeah, I really recommend being a part of the Alan Turing Institute if you are interested in how AI and the humanities connect. And so my passion is dancing and painting, and how that combines with AI and software. That's why I joined that. And I'm also working on a dance app myself that watches movement, watches dancers, and provides feedback at the right time to improve on a dancer's technique, like plie and things like that. So yeah, that's enough about me. So just right now, I'd really love you to have a think about the last 6 months of your learning. How do you know that you are better than 6 months ago? And what is it that you are measuring against yourself that you can tell that you are better? You don't have to tell me. You could tell the person next to you. It's really just a kind of personal, be introspective and think about how do you know that you're better now than you were 6 months ago. So I'll just give you like 30 seconds to have a think about that and what that measurement is. So just drawing us back in, I don't know if you had a conversation about it or if you just thought about it, but it's hard to be specific about your progress. If I think about my own software development, I'm probably basing it on PR comments and what I have to work on in my job and what I'm generally getting wrong a lot of the time. Thinking about that while we go through the rest of the talk and how we measure progress and how we can use AI to help us do that. So in the dance app that I've created, it's a prediction model. So it looks at movement across 60 frames, and then when it gets to the right frame, it will say to the person doing the plie, like, that's wrong, like your turnout is not turned out enough, and it will say the angle, and it's finding that right point during those 60 frames to give that feedback. If it waits till after, the correction's not being made. So that's just kind of like where I'm looking at building it into my app at the moment. So the zone of proximal development, this is like the basics of the concept. This black circle here, this is where you are right now without any help at all. So this black circle is literally all of the skills you have that you can do without any help, without any senior developer, without any leader, without AI, nothing. It's you on your own ability. This bit here, this is the zone of proximal development. That is where we want to be to learn and grow. So in your workplace, you might have a senior developer who's helping you in that place. Someone who's saying, I know where you are right here. I know that this is your weakness. You need to work on this. And then so basically the yellow bit is everything you can achieve with a little bit of help. And you want to be near the edge of it to really make that advanced progress. And the white bit is everything beyond that yellow zone around you that is way too advanced, that you can't quite reach yet, even with help. So the yellow zone moves. It doesn't stay still, it moves. And a good senior developer will notice that you've learned something and will then give you deeper tasks, more complicated tasks, more responsibility, and will progress you. Or a good teacher or someone who's that more knowledgeable other. Now, how does AI do that? In this, when you're looking at what's being posted online, or when you're seeing what AI is generating, for example, with agentic AI, it's taking the place of that progress, and it's doing something. It's creating something for you, but it doesn't know where you are, and it doesn't know how to help you progress. It doesn't have that insight on you. And you can actually build that in to your team and into your solutions to help you. So, So just really, really quickly, everyone's probably seen this before, probably knows it, but the prompt that you pop into the LLM has a context that it works through. It uses self-attention to find those similar patterns and then makes a prediction and gives you a response. The better the prompt and the context, the better the output, the more specific the output. So the depth of your questioning gives you better answers. So yeah, the scaffold moves. So to move, so when that scaffold is up, say you've got that senior developer next to you is teaching you, and they're helping you. The way that you can know that you have moved through that new area of expertise is that you're progressing through these levels. So you've got initially delegation, which is you literally ask AI to do something and you just ship what they've given you, and you're not thinking about it and you're not engaging. The engagement part is when you're asking why, and then you're starting to now move through that scaffolding. Your scaffolding's starting to come away as you move down here. So engagement, interrogation, ask for failure modes, ask for what's going to break, find the structural analog elsewhere, see patterns across the code base, compare against the field, and then ask it to argue with itself so that you're really understanding what the AI is providing, what it's giving you. So that's how you can know personally that you have understood what AI is giving you. So there's this new phrase that's going around called the zone of no development, which is a sort of the unseen lack of development in juniors potentially, where they are just putting whatever they find into the code, and they're not progressing. Where there's I guess, frustration with training and worry over what juniors might not learn the skills they need to learn because AI is doing it for them. So I guess it's wherever you are actually in your comfort zone. If it's not pushing you out of your comfort zone and AI is doing it for you, then there's no development. So this is a new area that is that's what they're describing as that place of this person is just basically regurgitating AI. But what we have found is in the studies is that juniors are actually, if they are engaging, if they are using it correctly, there's a 34% increase in productivity and in understanding. And so you see this really quick progression if they're using it correctly, if they're engaging with what AI is giving them correctly. But what you see on the flip side is if you see developers who are senior using it, if they're not engaging with it, then they see a decrease in what they normally output, which is interesting. So for me personally, in Claude, you can set up a command. I don't know if you use Claude commands within your environment at all. Just hands up quickly if you do use Claude commands. Amazing. So for me, I called mine laundry, and because I hate putting laundry away. For me, it's all of that code quality that I want to see in my PR. It just really frustrates me that I'm like, okay, I've built this amazing solution. It's perfect, and it took me ages. Now I have to go and do this little thing. But it's part of my learning. I have ADHD, and it's a struggle. So, but my laundry command will go through, and it will say, "Did you remember this? Did you remember that?" It's like my own personal little teacher. And what I've done is I've programmed it to only ask me if my PR comments aren't. So it asks me if my PR comments are giving me that feedback. It's personal to me. It trains me. If those PR comments stop coming, then it doesn't ask me anymore because I feed it my PR comments and I say, do you know what? I need reminding. Help me to strengthen that ability in me. So it's got like it's got variance in it. So if it sees frequencies, a frequency of 3 PRs with none of those errors in it, then it will fade that away. So that scaffold's being taken away. Yeah, the laundry command. So that's helped me with my ability at Spike to keep up with the code that we're producing. And so one of the things, I don't know if you've done any models inside your Claude commands or anything like that, as opposed to just rules inside your Claude. So giving Claude the, access to models and the underlying reasons for your code quality policies and things like that. If you give it access to the underlying reason, then it has a better ability to then pick up with juniors, like, why did you do this? Can I show you why? And it will pick up on the rest of the code base, show them pieces in the code base and say, this is why we have this quality rule. So, and they're called models. Rule or model. This is just a really quick game I put together, and it's probably super easy for you, but I thought it'd be fun. You can talk amongst yourselves. Is it a rule or a model? I guess it's just a really silly thing that I put together. But yeah. So always use const, never let, unless you need a reassignment. It's from React and JS, if that's your thing. So do you think that's a rule or a model? A rule. Yeah, so hang on. So this doesn't tell you the underlying reason of scoping. Yeah. React's reconciliation algorithm assumes elements of the same type at the same position represent the same component instance. Rule or model? Yeah. So it's kind of explaining the underlying reason. Never use any in TypeScript. Oh, it's already told you, but that's really obvious, that one. Yeah, so, but it doesn't explain why it's dangerous. And someone who may be really new to code might be like, okay, I'll never put any, but why? They don't know why. The browser builds accessibility tree from semantic HTML. Using the div forces you to create that semantic information via ARIA, which is harder to keep correct. Ruler model. Yeah. Don't repeat yourself. Yeah, a way of life. But then, obviously, like, duplication is easier to delete. And then the underlying, like, if you have an abstraction that goes wrong, it's so much more expensive. So, yeah. So the scaffold knows where you are. And so my Claude commands know where I am. They know my learning. They know my errors. And it fades that scaffold away when it sees that I'm not getting those PR comments. So I built a writing app with this in mind. So I thought, I don't want to go to AI and say, find this research about this thing, now write me an article and then pop it on LinkedIn. And it's so tempting to do that because it's so good. But I don't want that because I want to be a good writer. So I created a writing app that has top writing resources from all the universities that's free in the database. And it uses that in the side panel to analyze my writing. It learns where my strengths and weaknesses are. And as I put more of that writing in there, over time it learns my patterns. And it would say, oh, you need to strengthen your argument there. You haven't provided any evidence. Or this sounds like it's written by AI, or blah, blah, blah. So it's got that kind of learning journey with me. And it's helping me be a better writer. And I think that is where this is actually something that should be used everywhere, because we don't want someone else to do our job. I don't think anyone wants someone else to take the cognitive function. And I think there's so many people out there who are using AI to write. Actually, deep down, that's probably lack of confidence. And what they need is something like this, where it has got AI baked into it and is actually just pushing them. It can see where their journey is and it's pushing them to be a better writer. And that will make them a happier person, I think. So this is just a sort of like variance. If someone is always at 5, they're either stuck or they know it. So if they're stuck, they need something else to frame them and help them. But if there's variance in the learning, and sometimes they're showing great ability and other times they're forgetting, then that means they're in the zone. And that was Vygotsky. That's Vygotsky's the whole thing about scaffolding, is that if you're not showing constant application of what you're learning, then you're still in the zone. You're still like learning, and there's variation. So variation isn't something to be afraid of. And often in training, if someone's showing variation, you can sometimes be afraid, well, why did you forget this time? Why did you remember last time? But Vygotsky says that actually that shows they're in the zone, and there's no need to worry. Sometimes I think we need that in our training, in our teams. If someone's showing ability 1 second and not the next, like, they're still learning. Oh yeah, so standard deviation, if there's more variance, then the principle hasn't been internalized. Else, if there's less variance, then it's stable. And that's just saying the same thing. It's the same concept. Okay, so in a team, so this is where I kind of saw it firsthand with my mum's estate agency. So she has an estate agency and a very small crew of people. Each person has exactly the same role. Each person has a very different role, sorry. So when one person leaves, there's a knowledge gap. And actually AI can fill that gap if we know how to harness it correctly. One of the things that she has to do is referencing. I don't know if any of you have ever had to do like move house or like move into rented property. You have to be referenced and they check you. So I was helping my mum with this, but all of her checklists for referencing are like the old school, like must have been written like 15 years ago, checklists, and like dense black writing, lots of dots, and you had to fill in the dots, so repetitive. So I created a solution where that was a form, a gated form, and you couldn't move on to the next stage until you'd put all of the different bits in. But I wanted there to be a learning loop, because lots of people, staff are being onboarded and then they leave after a few months. And there's no progression, no learning. So I really wanted the AI to capture that learning and move that person through and progress them. So what I did was I created a frequency layer for that as well. So the auditor looks through the work, picks up on errors, sticks it into an auditor box, and then that goes immediately, say, to my learning profile. The errors that I'm creating are picked up on. And then the next time I do that form, it's highlighting around that specific field, you missed this last time, or you didn't double check the names, or whatever. It's highlighting as I go to remind me. And what I think that does is it reduces friction amongst team members and also potentially confrontation with managers. Say, if you have this loop, this learning loop, you are automatically providing that team member with training. And you can access, depending on where they are in their learning, they can access management training or other types of courses or other things because the AI is picking up on exactly where they are. So I think in the future, if this can be used to help with teams, then it could actually provide very personalised training to everyone because it's seeing where they are. So yeah, it removes that conversation between you and your line manager. It removes that, why did you forget that? Why did you forget that again? So it's kind of helping you progress in a very unconfrontational way. By using a fading mechanism, like I said before, the scaffold has to come away for you to be strong and to move and progress. So one of the studies that I read was that 83% of students who received ChatGPT assistance couldn't quote their own work. And I think that that's like an example of where AI is going wrong and where we need to use our engineering skills to help. We can use our skills with this problem that we are seeing everywhere. I don't know about you, but I've noticed that the senior role may have small changes now with what they're looking at. So if juniors are now providing code much more quickly and more accurately, more efficiently, then the senior can now become, instead of an error catcher, which is actually AI is really good at, become like a model encoder and enforce this new environment that's actually encouraging learning, encouraging progression within the code base, within how you're using Claude. And that could be part of what they do. So yeah, let me see. So I guess if I go a little bit sci-fi and a little bit futuristic, if we have a personal trainer, if AI can be a personal trainer and we have the resources to put into that training, that's authentic and it's elite and it's master, then what's the limit to what we can learn? What's the limit to what we can become? We're not restricted by what our team are seeing or restricted by the job we're in necessarily, but only by what we want to progress in. So yeah, for me, I always wanted to be a ninja. And I used to jump off things all the time when I was younger. And but I'm not going to be like an amazing ninja. But wouldn't it be cool if you had a movement app like the one that I'm trying to build, Superpose, that could say, I know where you are, I know where you need to get to. If you keep following me in this direction, you're going to be a ninja. And but it had so what we're trying to do with Superpose, just to kind of plug a little bit, we're at the moment capturing ballet and elite ballet dancers and all of the culture that comes with that. And imagine having all of that captured authentically in a database so that in 100 years' time, obviously culture changes and there's questions around that, but in 100 years' time, someone could turn around and say, wow, how did they move? How did they do their arabesque? How did they do that choreography? And it's there in the database. And then you could do that with anything. You could do that with any kind of skill and get that captured and be trained in it.
Thank you very much, Vicky.